A little music. I know you hear it, Alex. You hear it? Don't start dancing now, all right? Take it easy. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. It's cold over here in Washington. I'm sure it's cold over there where Alex is at in New York, I believe. We're going to get right to it. Ladies and gentlemen, this is Pit Talk, pulling pits and opinions with your host, Gunny G on the horn. We got a special guest. But before we get there, I would like to request you guys, if you're not following, hit the follow button, hit the subscribe button, hit the like button, leave in comments what you want to hear. If it's good, if it's not, I'm all about it. The more the merrier. Ladies and gentlemen, we got a special guest hailing in from New York as we speak right now, Mr. Alex Lim. Alex Lim, I apologize. Alex, say hello to the audience.
What's up, guys? How are you? Happy to be here. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. Thank you for coming on. I know you're a busy man. I was social media stalking you for a little bit, and like Hawaii, and then now you're in New York, and we're gonna hit that. I'm pretty jealous. I don't know why the Marine Corps don't send me anywhere. Jesus. So, it's really straight to it. One, obviously, how long you've been in, married, kids. The whole. A little bit about you, so that the listeners can either relate or, hey, I got the same experience, kind of thing. Go ahead.
Sure. Absolutely. So I am married. I have 2 kids. Uh, Joined the Marine Corps, I want to say it's been about 15 and a half years, right? And I think maybe not similar, maybe it is atypical, but these days it might be atypical. But I joined because I wanted a challenge, just like, you not only from a commercial, but if you're going to do military service, and I come from a time where it is post 9/11, you saw what happened on screens, whether you were, in school or whether you were in college, wherever you were. I have a very distinct memory of that in my head. And that triggered a response, and the response being a call to serve. And that's how I ended up here. I was born and raised in New York. So obviously, World Trade Center is something that is not just any 2 buildings. It's a lot of things were happening. A lot of people worked there, so that still resonates. Distinct images of my mind, and yeah, and here I am today.
Don't make me cry. Anyways, thank you for your service. I appreciate it. I'm sure once if you don't know Mr. Alex, then you're gonna know Mr. Alex today. Can you share a little bit about? Obviously, you've been in 15 years. Can you billets and what you've been doing ever since?
Sure. So I'm a public affairs officer, or what we call in the Marine Corps a communication strategy operations officer by trade. Um, and from the very beginning, that's what my MOS was. It wasn't like I lat moved to this. This was as a second lieutenant, showed up at the doorstep of the Defense Information School, went through the training, and then I ended up at First Marine Division. And at First Marine Division, at the time, you knew you were going to deploy. So the time frame came, and my time was up. So RCT1 is who I deployed with. I did a year in Afghanistan, Camp Dwyer. I spent most of my days. Um, Came back, took on the reins of the director position of the public affairs office at the time at First Marine Division. Then I went to Kaneohe Bay, right? Marine Corps base, Hawaii. I was like, man, California, Hawaii, they're just sending me to crappy places, right? And it's interesting because you don't really think about this when you just get orders, but I really think the monitor and my Ockfield sponsor was having some foresight. So if you don't know the job at K-Bay, part of what you do as a public affairs officer is you face some of the public via like a neighborhood board. So whether you're in Kailua or Kaneohe or Waimanalo, once a month, you're going to these neighborhood board meetings. And quite frankly, sometimes it's not always positive. You're getting kicked in the teeth by either noise complaints or people worried about what those cranes in front of K-Bay are. Um, but whatever the case, well, I think there was some foresight there because, you have some howly looking Marine representing the Marine Corps at these neighborhood boards. it's not always well received. You have someone that looks a little more like the demographic in Hawaii, it is more well received. Whether you like it or not, this is just kind of the nature of that particular job. Uh, and there I thrived. I got my teeth kicked in occasionally at those neighborhood board meetings, but it worked well. From there, I went to Camp Smith, where I was the operations planner in the public affairs office for Marine Forces Pacific. Um, After that duty station, I had to say goodbye to Hawaii. I went to Fort Meade, Maryland to go back to the schoolhouse as an instructor this time. From schoolhouse time, I did Marine Corps, the Marine detachment there. I was the CO there for the Marine detachment for about a year before command and staff. So once command and staff, you go to Miramar, or excuse me, you go to Quantico for command and staff. Did that for a year. Then I got orders to 3rd Marine Aircraft Wing, where I was director of the then Communication Strategy Operations Office. And then at the end of 2021, I got this sweet gig as the entertainment media liaison for the Marine Corps.
Oh my goodness.
So here I am today. Is that, yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome. Dude. Oh, damn, Mr. Alex. All right. That that sounds legit. You were in Hawaii. What years were you in Hawaii and
I
California, if you don't
was,
mind?
so I got there December of '09, California. I exited July 2013. Then I got to Hawaii then, and I stayed till about September 2016.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I was in Pendleton from 11 to 13,
Okay.
deployed 13 to 14. Then I went to Iwakuni, Japan, mainland Japan. That was a good time. And then obviously, as you can see back there, just some accolades from the next duty station, and then
Just some, yeah.
Hawaii,
Yeah.
Hawaii, Hawaii, uh, and then now here, Washington. I let my family pick this duty station, so hopefully they're taking full advantage of their pickings. Because
Are they from Washington for you on your side?
no,
No?
we are not nowhere near. We're originally from Texas. Our immediate families in Michigan, so we're from the East Coast. But the weather is similar here. But it's just
Yeah.
there's this thing called depressional season or what seasonal depression out here,
I know
and
what you
it just stays gloomy all day, no sun, and then it just gets dark. So it's
Oh,
nice.
better you than me, man.
You
So,
look, I look my color because I'm in Washington, so there's no tan here, right? You look great, like you just came from a midnight sunny cruise. You know what I'm talking about, a tanning place?
well, I came back from
So,
Hawaii, I guess, yeah.
yeah, so this current job that you got going on, they got you traveling from point A to point B, yeah?
Yeah, for sure. So just some background and also a plug. So the Hawaii International Film Festival was, I mean, it's ongoing, and I say ongoing because it's not just on Oahu, but it bounces around from Big Island, right, Kauai, and um, so I just left the Oahu Hawaii International Film Festival. It just concluded this past weekend. But part of what this job entails is you want to network and build a network of storytellers. And when I mean storytellers, it's not just movie directors, producers, screenwriters. It's also people like yourself,
Hmm.
storytellers who know who we are, who, if they want an accurate story about the Marine Corps, instead of, searching far and wide, there's a single point of contact being me, and we can start that way.
Wow.
Yeah, so it's not just movies, TV shows, documentaries that I support. It's also building a network so that these storytellers know where to turn.
That's awesome. Holy, I'm getting chills. Chicken, a little chicken bump. This is great. This is awesome. You know what? I'm gonna sit back and listen, and you just go ahead and just free flow. But uh, well, obviously, comparably speaking, the duty stations. Which one's your favorite one so far?
I mean, this one is awesome. So
Uh huh.
this one is awesome. However, um, the Marine detachment at Fort Meade, when I had that, I know it was very short-lived, uh, but being part of young Marines' lives, right? So they finish MCT, and now they have to go through the MOS school, and that's where they, show up at my doorstep. That
Yeah.
was probably the most rewarding experience ever. And again, not to sound cheesy, and not to overplay just a year of my time, but being a part of that, I think really opened my eyes to a part of the Marine Corps you don't always see, which is
You know,
that pipeline. And I know you explore some of the topics of like toxic leadership, how to find solutions around it. And you get to interject yourself along that front end of a Marine's career. And I think that's a very important time to do it because
yeah,
talking about they learn early, like early on, they learn things, especially at the MOS school, time management, right? How to manage your work-life balance. You're managing your stress. There are times where some of these Marines, they're not wanting to purchase their airline ticket to go back home for the holidays. So then they're coping with being alone. You talked about seasonal depression. We'll talk about seasonal depression without your family around and you're a young
yeah,
18-year-old kid. And these are scenarios you don't really often think about, but when you're starting to be exposed to it at a larger scale, like an MOS school, you want to help young people navigate through that. So that was a very rewarding experience for sure.
yeah. That sounds but for me too. I mean, I just hop on there. That little sentence is the pipeline, like the very beginning of it all. It's where it starts, and obviously the recruiter starts there, and then obviously when they'll do the warm handoff to recruit depots. It's very rewarding. Like at first you don't notice it, but as you get mature in the duty station, you start to notice like, wow, these guys are
Yeah.
transitioning fully. And I was talking to some of the Marines today, and I was asking them, where does a fire go? You know, I'm sure you've been to Oceanside, and you go to Oceanside and the mall, the movie theater that's right there off of the Oceanside gate,
Hmm.
supermoto, right? Boots, uh, tight jeans, belt buckles, USMC shirts on, high end tights, dog tags, whatever you name it, it's all there. You can just go there and shake everybody's hand, and everybody's a Marine, boot camp graduated Marine, and then the spark is there, and then through the transition of MCT, MOS school, duty station to duty station, where does that fire go for you? In your opinion, where does that fire go?
So I think sometimes it fades, unfortunately, right? Sometimes something else creeps in, like status quo. That word
Hmm.
comes to mind, where folks are just satisfied with putting in. I can get by doing 60%. And if I get by doing 60%, something else creeps in. It's I don't know what the opposite of motivation, demotivation, laziness, complacency. All three things, those words come to mind, but they slowly creep into your overall mentality about how you feel about the service, about your own service, your performance. And when you let those things take over, that's when I think we have an issue, or that's when danger occurs. And to your point, where does that fire go? Well, it got put out by those things that I just mentioned.
Hmm.
Uh, so you want to again, keep up to date on things, stay motivated, right? That's such a cheesy thing to say sometimes, but
Yeah.
when motivation is lacking, what should take over is discipline. So then,
Hmm.
do your drill instructors proud and the things that they instilled in you, right? Sustain the transformation, that type of thing. These are all catchphrases that leaders like to say, but it's like, what does that really mean? It's like harken back to your original training, your why. Why did you join the Marine Corps? That why, I know that initially for a lot of us, or some of us anyway, it's because, damn it, we have the sexiest uniforms.
All right.
We look the best. We're the most disciplined. That why slowly transitions to, I want to serve, that Marine next to me, be a better
Yeah.
Marine for him or her, lead the juniors that are, junior to me, give them a better example. And after a while, assuming that you don't let the other things like demotivation, laziness, complacency creep in, you find yourself at a place where your why is so strong and so secure that it almost shakes you emotionally when you think about it. And it's why you pop out for a 4:30 PT formation, why you jump out of bed. Um, and again,
Hmm.
hope folks that are, I imagine folks that are listening are not just your junior Marines, but those that are senior who might be kind of on the fence about our service, who maybe I'll reenlist, maybe I won't, right? But I urge that individual to think about your why. If it doesn't shake you to your core, like this is something that is the bedrock of who I am and why I want to serve, and it doesn't have you reaching deep down that way, then perhaps it is time to jump ship. But if you still have it, then damn it, sign the dotted line again, right? Let's get you
Yeah,
re-enlisted. Yeah.
absolutely. That's good. That's good, Alex. I appreciate that. And right now, being in New York, what's the dynamic like? I mean, I know you're doing some cool, cool Marine Corps stuff. I would love to hear pretty shortly. But what's the dynamic there? Do you feel it out? Like, is it military friendly? Is it, are they approachable? Do they want you there, kind of thing?
The city of New York, if I were to characterize it just from what I see and what I feel, there is an element of service. I'm not saying New Yorkers are all like lovey-dovey toward each other. That's not what I'm saying. You walk the streets of New York City, you know exactly what I mean. They're not lovey-dovey to each other. They probably, flip the bird before they say hello.
Yeah.
What I mean by that, though, is again talking about 9/11. Let's talk about 9/12/2001. Let's get over 9/11. Let's talk about 9/12/2001. You and I are probably younger cats at the time, but if you were to tune into television, watching the news stations, you're not going to see you're not going to see the New York that we see right now. You're going to see a lot of helping hands coming together, breaking through rubble, trying to find reservists who are trying, like fighting, clawing their way to get back into active duty, ready to serve. You have firefighters, emergency response people jumping into the void, finding a place where they can be useful and helping people out of the rubble, right? Um,
Yeah.
and this scene in my head, although that was 22 years ago now, because of that scene and where I am here, I don't think people forgot how important it is to serve and what people that do serve, how important they are to this community. So I'm here for this Commander's Media Training Symposium in New York. And a lot of the support staff to make this event come together, they are reservists who are from they're stockbrokers. They're from the NYPD. They're from the sanitation department. They come
Yeah.
together. Yes, they wore the Marine Corps uniform once upon a time as an active duty service member, but they come together to serve still because of that service bond that I'm telling you about in New York City. Um, and I know this might be biased coming from me, but because I certainly understand and acknowledge that the other side still exists. The other side being maybe they're not so service oriented. The other side being they give two shits about military service or public service for that matter. However, from what I can tell, from what I can see, there's still a unifying bond that brings service and service members together here in New York City.
Nice. That's good, man, because there's a lot of decisive, malicious kind of rhetoric out there about big cities, and I just wanted to get your take, to get your feel. I know you've only been there for a little bit, but again, you're from there, so it's not like it's not what you're not used to. Everything comes in transitions.
Yeah,
Um, can you tell us about the gig? I'll let fill us in. I'll sign the NDA here pretty soon. Just send it to me. A non-disclosure. I won't talk about it, I promise. But let the listeners know, like, how did you get this billet? Where did they reach out to you? I mean, I know that the officer corps is a little different than the enlisted corps, and I know that you got a little bit more, cool stuff that you can do, I guess, per se, for lack of better words. Can you let the listeners know how you got this billet and how you like it so far?
So I'll start with the last. How I like it so far. It's amazing. It's awesome. And you want to talk about making an impact. I certainly see
Yeah.
some of the impact from supporting films, right? Whether it's unscripted being documentaries, or scripted film. Not so much these days because if you're not tuned into Hollywood, there's been a lot of strikes, right, between
Yeah.
SAG and WGA being over, but still. So a lot of unscripted stuff for now. Um, how I got here is I always knew this billet existed for the longest of times. I mean, you want to talk about an office that is nearly as old as certain units that are in the Marine Corps. Well, this office
Hmm.
is one that used to be the motion picture office, right? And this
Cool.
dates back to like World War One time frame, where you were,
Holy mackerel.
uh, you know, uh, film, motion picture. I can't tell you exactly where it landed in terms of like the location of the duty station, but there was a time where this office was in the heart of LA. in Westwood. Now it's at Camp Pendleton, and we're fighting our way back into the federal building in Los Angeles, and I want to say by spring next year, there we will be. Um, but how you get this job is one, it's obviously a COMSTRAT billet, but it's also a COMSTRAT officer that's been around the block. I think being on the ground side, being on the air side, a staff job in, various commands, schoolhouse background as well. That all helped me because you're talking about experience and knowledge um, across the spectrum, and that's what they're looking for here. That's
Yeah.
not to say I'm an expert in any of these things, because like if you were to ask me, hey, what is anything range related? I don't know, right? Like max effective range of you name the weapon system, I can Google it, or I can find the gunner who is the trusted advisor to CG First Marine Division and say, "Hey, gunner," or "Hey, movie director or screenwriter, I have the guy that you'd want to talk to. I have access to those people, so therefore, to be in jack of all trades and expert in none, I think is okay. And luckily, I was blessed to be around different groups of Marines from the air side, the ground side, and what have you. And that experience has brought me to this job.
Nice. That's awesome. Alex, I want to ask real quick. We're gonna jump around. I know I send you I usually I like to send the questions, so that more the guests are more comfortable in speaking and just saying what they got to say. I like honesty. I like transparency. I think the Marines and sailors and Army, and because I got an Army guy coming on, I got a vast majority of backgrounds coming on, and I think everybody loves transparency. Everybody loves honesty.
Mm-hmm.
And with your billets and the capacities you worked at, I'm gonna jump around here. You've experienced a lot of people, and not necessarily always good, right? I think you know where I'm going with it. Is what kind of advice do you give us and the lower level, lower level echelon of leadership, and just the young Marines or even senior Marines or senior officers are listening? Give us a little bit of insight in terms of the toxic people or the organization is not set up for success here and there, vice versa. Whatever it is that you can give us a little bit of insight, and feel free to be transparent, and honest. I think this is what it's for.
Yeah, for sure. Our service being the smallest branch of service, and us being people oriented, one toxic leader can kind of spoil the pot, right? And you see this, it's evidence based off of in that small section that you own, toxic leader A. How many of that batch are re-enlisting? And if it's 0 for 0, I'd say, well, maybe it's not a problem with this duty station or a problem with these individuals. Perhaps. And I know there might be other circumstances, but perhaps it's you, toxic leader, that may be the issue. I don't think toxic leaders roll out of bed one day and say, today I'm going to be toxic, right? I don't believe for a second that today I'm going to be the shitty leader and make sure people feel miserable in the office. I don't believe people live their lives that way, thinking that way. But I do believe there are certain toxic leaders who don't know they're toxic. They were just brought up in a home, maybe it's a home environment or background that said this is okay. Maybe they saw what was practiced in previous duty stations and previous units, and they're just taking what they saw might be effective and brought it to their current job. But I don't believe that they woke up one day and was like, oh, let's be toxic today. But as junior Marine, someone who works under that type of leadership, I would also argue that resiliency matters. Part of it is resiliency. So part of it is, I would say, look internally and say, like, how can I overcome this? But also part of it is not exploring your own sphere of influence. So you might be a new join PFC Lance Corporal in your unit, but that's not going to be for long, right? So within the next 6 months, you're going to have a new PFC is coming, and by default, whether you like it or not, you are now viewed as a leader. You, Lance Corporal, are now in charge of You are now in charge of, two PFCs. So I would say explore what's in your scope, what's in your sphere of influence, and what you can change. If you don't explore, this your sphere is this big as a Lance Corporal, let's just say, and you don't explore the outer edges and how far you can create change, then you'll never know. And your sphere, even though you might pin on corporal, sergeant, staff sergeant, your sphere is only going to be this big because you haven't explored the boundaries of which you can affect change positively. And only then I feel like you're really growing in this kind of leadership dynamic. So acknowledge that there's toxic leadership that exists, but I don't think the solution is to keel over and bitch about it on Reddit and say leaders exist, right?
Yeah.
Or put your leadership on blast on Twitter or X, whatever we're calling the platform.
Hmm.
I think there are other options available, and perhaps explore again your sphere of leadership before you jump the gun and go on social media and say, this guy's jacked up or that girl's jacked up. Just a thought. Yeah.
Yeah. That's good. That's good. The sphere. I like that. Just poke at the sphere, see if it, you know,
Yeah.
changes. See it changes.
Like, just because you're a Lance Corporal doesn't mean you're limited to do PFC Lance Corporal things. You as a leader, you should see how far and wide your influence goes and make that change.
Absolutely. I was talking to the Marines. It's like, hey, indirectly, Marines are complaining this, that, and the other, and they say this, that about his NCOs or sergeant or whatever the case may be, right? And I'm in a good position where I like being a gunner sergeant. It's nice. It's you get to hear a lot of things, and then higher enlisted or officers come in and like, hey, what's this? What's that? What's going on with this? And I'm kind of the buffer, and it's nice in the way where these Marines are complaining about going up, complaining up, right? And I say, well, it's not necessarily everybody else's fault. You got to, again, look at your sphere of influence. What is it that you're doing in this situation or in these situations or in this circumstance? And if you want change, who does it start with? Is that fair to say, Alex? It starts with you, right? Like if you're looking for something to change, it starts with you, not with everybody else. Is that fair?
That is fair to say, for sure. And I'm not saying that is the end all be all solution, because we certainly could probably bring up moments or examples where the change couldn't, no matter what these Lance Corporals, whatever the rank is, the change couldn't happen within, and it was still this very toxic leadership environment. We all know that those still exist, but yes, certainly look that way. Something else to your point that I offer to the group is you can insulate some of that stress to your junior Marines, right? You as a leader now, if that old adage of shit rolls downhill, right?
Yeah.
Because someone's getting on your case about a thing doesn't mean you have to do the same to the PFCs, to whoever you're responsible for. So you can insulate them, and I'd say that's part of the responsibility of a leader. That shit doesn't always have to roll downhill. If there's especially if there's toxic leadership involved, in your sphere of influence, find a way to protect the people that you're there to protect. So that's again something I offer.
That's good. That's good. Thank you for that. Sphere, ladies and gentlemen. If you're not listening or you're just tuning in, sphere of influence. Write it down. Sphere of influence. It's what you can change at your level by Alex Lim. The book's coming out next month, right? Is that what it is?
Yeah.
That was a pretty good transition on myself. I would say applause here and there, but I forgot the buttons. But anyways, we'll jump around and we'll go back to your current billet so you're out in New York, based off of California, right? You're in California right now.
Right.
How is this new billet putting stress on the fam? How is it?
Oh,
How are you doing with that?
man, we're getting really transparent here. You know what? I travel a lot, right? And I have a 3-year-old and a 6-year-old, and I'd say, and then mom has to fend for herself and the kids back in the rear when dad is forward, right? And you find ways to maximize the time you are home, right? This work-life balance thing. If there's anything I learned in the 15 years of service, it's trying to find that work-life balance. And I think sometimes we do it to ourselves. What I mean by that is
Mm.
I know what a good Marine's supposed to do. He or she's supposed to commit him or herself to the service and do the damn thing, right? No questions asked.
Yeah.
And as tough as we are, I think that is also unhealthy, that type of mentality. I think we've now seen a transition in not just the Marine Corps, but across the services, the DoD writ large. For example, your paternity leave. You as a dad, right? Your wife just gave birth. You as a dad. It used to be. Do you remember what the old paternity leave policy was? It was like 10 working days.
10, it was 10 when I came in, then it went 14, then 21. Yeah.
Yeah. What it's now, it's something like 3 months, right? And so like we're understanding what
Mm.
service, the type of stress service does to a family.
Yeah.
So we've now, seen the transition. It is now offering a healthier work-life balance scenario for you. However, you, the individual Marine, what you tend to do, and I'm not saying you, but the
Sure.
general, what you tend to do is you say, I've got 10 pounds of stuff that I'm going to, stuff in this 5 pound bag. The Marine thing to do is throw it all on my shoulder and carry this burden alone. Run hard, and run myself to the ground. And before you know it, you're gassed. And now you're stressed. Your family, who you don't see often, are now looking for you, and that's hard.
Yeah.
So, again, something I offer is maximize the time you're available. When you are there, be all there, right? So if your kids have soccer, be all there. Be their biggest advocate, supporter, cheer them on, practice with them. If your kids are at school, and your wife, obviously, she's been doing the full-time job thing as a parent, then it's time you take on the burden of dropping the kids off, um, you know, picking them back up, just being there, right? And it's those moments, I don't think it may be blatantly obvious, and I'm just kind of putting it out in the ether, out of my mouth here, but it's those little times where you want to maximize, engage your kids, engage your wife, engage your spouse, and be there when you're there.
Yeah.
Because let's be honest, this is not a one-way type of scenario. You have a family yourself. You know that this is teamwork. Raising kids certainly takes a team to do it. And there are times where we tap into the grandparents, right? And or like neighbors or friends and family and friends to say, hey, I need some time with my wife. We are going to go on a date night and we need to do this thing, right? So find those opportunities, and don't let the
Yeah.
stress of the job overtake the family situation, because when this is all said and done in your 20 years or whatever you retire is up, is the Marine Corps is not going to miss you.
That's good. Because I know that even now, you're a little more seasoned than I am, but um, even now it's difficult because I know that when I first came, it was just full throttle.
Right.
Babe, you got it. I gotta go. Like I gotta do this thing, like you said earlier, and then it was all the way or no way, right? And that's how I was raised. It was all the way in or you're not all the way in. And
Right.
either if you're not a good Marine. And so you left the family to the wayside. And now, now that I have a little bit more time under my belt, a little more rank and responsibility and freedoms under my belt, I see, because it's kind of slowing down, I see where my faults were. I see where the cracks were in my relationship, where I see the cracks in my family dynamic. And it's rough. I'll tell you that. It is rough. I don't know. I mean, my experience is different than yours. I can only speak for myself, but I think generally speaking, most older Marines, even more seasoned than us, it was. I think it was the same way. It was like
Yeah.
guns to the wall, like family. You got it. You got to figure it out.
Right. How old are your kids?
So I have four actually. On a lighter note, I have a 15-year-old, I have a 12-year-old, I have a 2-year-old, and then I have a 0.
Oh, boy.
Yeah. So it's.
Oh, man.
Whew, I'm back on firewatch duty. You know what I'm saying?
Oh. Yeah. Oh, man. Talk about that. Yeah.
It's rough. Yeah. Now, and I forgot how it was. Like my 15 and 12-year-old, Giselle and Ashton, shout out because they listen to my podcast. Kind of weird. I don't know, but they I found out what I did wrong, right? And one of my, military family members, so to speak, I call him Tio Nando. Shout out, he retired last year. Last year. He goes, it's not what you did, man. It's what you're doing now. You can't get the moments back, and figure it out now, man. Give it everything you got now, so that they don't miss anything now.
Yeah.
And I think you and me are the kind of same shoes. You have 2, I have 4, but it's like you said, it's maximize the time now.
Yeah. I think also too, not to try to pump you up or anything, but you ever see, I mean, have a heart to heart with your parents about, and then they might bring up something that they did wrong or they felt was wrong 20 years ago when you were a kid or whatever,
Mm-hmm.
and you vaguely remember that, or like, it was just like in passing, you didn't even recall that was so wrong. So I think we tend to put ourselves under a microscope, feeling extra guilty about how we interact with our kids, when at the end of the day, it was just like any other day, and they were fine with it. So, I mean, a sign of a good parent, I would say, is understanding and recognizing, after action, and doing that, on your own. But ultimately, I would say our kids are going to be just fine.
Yeah. So they are resilient. I think they figure it out.
Yeah.
And I think my daughter's very, very, very mature. I hope you're listening, Giselle. Don't get big headed now. Anyways, but I was going to ask, do you have any? So you plan, obviously, we can all say that you're going to do this for at least till 20 years, if not maybe 30, if you're super motivated, right?
Right.
Do you see yourself continuing on this in this job in the civilian sector?
I could see myself certainly doing something like it. Truth be told, right now, if I could rewind time again, 2012, I almost got out. So I did my, my 4-year stint, and officers, what we go through is it's called career designation. So, if you're performing the Marine Corps after, set number of years, and you're at the cusp of either jumping ship or not, they offer to you career designation so that you can be augmented, stay in. So, I was at the crossroads where I was thinking, I'm here in Camp Pendleton. Hollywood is up the road. There aren't a lot of Asian American actors, right? At the time anyway. It's like, maybe I'll be, I'll go to acting school. I'll take my GI Bill and go to acting school and be a talent. I'm glad I didn't make that decision. That would have been, it's, people are starving out there. So I've always been fond of entertainment, because entertainment, I'd say more than CNN, Fox News, whatever news platform you watch, whatever news story you hear, there are times where entertainment is just more impactful. How do I know this? Next time you watch a movie, right? Be it the movie theater, Netflix, at home, turn and look at the reaction. Look at the face of the person that's watching the movie with you, right? They're not standing there with their arms crossed. They're either like in it because it's a scary movie and they're just like, covers up to their face, or just like, if it's a happier movie, their countenance is just very much like receive mode, right? But that's exactly it. There's no defense mechanism that's put up when someone is watching a film or, or being entertained, right? And that's peak time for information to just hit them in the face, make an impact on their, on their thought process. And a lot of what we do in this in the COMSTRAT field is you want to affect knowledge, attitude, behavior about a certain thing. Whether we have Marine Corps operations, whether it's an event, whether it's a crisis or a mishap, we want to affect knowledge, attitude, behavior. Well, what better way to do it when they're in full receive mode and they're watching this movie, and you can say, this is what our Ospreys do, right? Obviously, that's not how bold we do it, but through a story, we talk about these characters who come to life in your film, who are, Marines or you get what I'm saying? So like,
yeah, of course.
Story is there that informs them, that affects knowledge, attitude, behavior, and therefore they know more about this topic through film. So yeah.
That's dope. That's dope, especially when you get to paint the picture of the Marine Corps per se at that specific duty station. That's amazing. I always wondered because the Marine Corps gets a lot of likes and a lot of views. Do they get paid for this? You know, because you can monetize. You know what I'm saying? You can monetize certain things. I'm always wondering. I'm like, man, I wonder if they're making money off this. This would be pretty dope. But I'm sure they already have their budget already set out for you guys. But, anyways, so do you not to interject myself with your personal life or business endeavors. It goes into my next question about social media. Do you think these guys, everybody, active duty period, and all service members, social media good?
So you're gonna hear the officer answer. It depends, right? Met UC dependent. No, honestly, it depends because like do you want like like a Marine who's very introverted, who's not good with people, would rather, a good day for him or her is staying indoors in the barracks room and playing whatever game that they're playing. Sudoku on crossword puzzle, whatever, right? They would much rather do that. Should that
Those are our
individual,
games.
right? Should that individual be on a podcast like this, like Pit Talk, right? No, right? So in the same vein, I wouldn't want just every Marine on social media, especially if they're not up for it. If this is not what they want to do, then I wouldn't
Yeah.
force them to do it. On the flip side, there are very good Marines, service members who are good at the social media thing. Recruiters, for one. Man, I tell you what, like I think it's part of the recruiting school the period of its program of instruction, excuse me, to talk about like you might want a social media presence. And that's the
Yeah.
only, I mean, that's one of the key ways to success and meet your numbers, right? And interfacing with these high school students. Um, I think they got it down to a science. Man, I tell you what, like they're between the followers, how they engage and how engaging their posts are. Um, I think those individuals know what they're doing. But again,
Yeah.
not for
That's good. Not for everyone. So do you have anything going on the side, or you're kind of like 100% in, like this is it, this is what I'm focused on, I don't have nothing on the side, no endeavors, no business,
yeah,
nothing?
very cheesy, yeah, cheesy to say, but my business is my pleasure, especially when it comes to this job, right? And so everything I do, all the networking and programs, productions that I support, it's on behalf of this office. Um, so a lot of pressure for the next guy or gal to take over this job because you have to be on your feet. There is no
Yeah.
like 9 to 5. If your ass is in a seat in your office, I think something is wrong. Instead, you should be out and about making your rounds, right? I'm 2 cell phones deep. I've got, emails, phone calls that I'm taking, mobile office from my car. Like that's how life is in this job. And I'm not telling you this to like portray a hectic, portrayal of this job. But what I'm trying to say is that's how active that you need to be. All right. This is
Yeah.
not a place where you hang your hat and say, I'm going to retire after this. This is something, be prepared to work. You better love the gig. And so if you love the job of talking to people, getting to know people, trying to meet them where they're at, and in hopes that you can interject with, some of our own organizations, talking points, communication objectives, then this is the right place for you.
Hmm. I think I need a lap move.
Yeah.
COMSTRAT sounds like a good gig to me. I don't know where did I find the line at. I don't think there's a time limit for lateral move packages, are there?
You
Dude,
never know. You never know.
you
Yeah.
never know. If I would have known all this stuff that you're telling me now, maybe 3 years ago when I left San Diego, my package would have been in a long time ago. But it is what it is. I like what I do. I like helping people out. I like making sure that I am the single point of failure when it comes to helping them out and getting the right information, right, so to speak. But my next question for you, Alex, is I know that you're having fun. I know that you're doing a good job. I know that you have to paint, just like you said, you have to paint a picture. And there's a lot of things going on right now around the world. And having healthy discourse, I'm going to catch you off guard here. Because you have great bearing. I just want everybody to know Mr. Alex over here has great bearing. So I'm trying to catch him off guard here. there's a lot of things going on, right? There's a lot of decisive malice in social media right now, whether it be one to the other or left to the right. Doesn't matter what it is. You get to paint a picture about the Marine Corps, and that's a good thing. And I just have to touch, because I know that having healthy discourse, having open conversations with Marines and everybody, all service members, I think my advice to them currently, what's going on right now. I know that in 3 different fronts, right? Let's just think of China, Taiwan. Let's think of Russia, Ukraine. Let's think of Israel and the Department of State's labeled terrorist group Hamas. How do you feel about doing your job in this current era, in this current culture?
Where there's a lot of discourse, right? Is that what you're? Yeah. So I think it is certainly a lot going on with varying views. Within our service alone, and then externally, whoever I meet, right? I've got Jewish friends, I've got friends from Palestine, I've got Muslim friends, Christian friends, ideas about everything and anything. So discourse in terms of our house, the Marine Corps, I think it is fair as Marines to voice some of those things that you talked about, the discourse.
Yeah. Is it hold on, what's going on here? It's interesting times, I'd say. I think we spoke about it. We were talking about it the other couple weeks ago. Something about the retired General Petraeus just mentioned about what was going on October 7th. And it's just interesting times, and I know that we have to watch what we say, because we have an image to maintain and good order and discipline. And I'm thoroughly indoctrinated. I'm all about it, and it's accurate, right? Because the moment someone's kind of steers in the wrong direction, could take Marines with them, and it's not a good thing. So appreciate that. To my next point, though, let me my handy dandy notebook here. There's a lot of how do you say? Do you think as an organization we're moving in the right direction, right? In terms of I don't know if you heard about maybe a couple months back they were trying to get rid of, or there was a Marine Corps Times article. They wanted to get rid of the sir and the ma'am just altogether because it was offensive. People, just people in general, they think that's kind of the people that I talk to or speak to, and it's kind of like, for what? What purpose does that serve? Because if I'm not mistaken, I know that in OCS, you guys already do it. You say, whoever it is, you just give them the rank. You don't really say sir or ma'am. But what is that? What kind of narratives is that portrayed to young people? Like, hey, they were trying to get rid of sir, ma'am in recruit training. What narratives does that give them, or picture does that give them? Right. Yeah, of course they haven't changed it, which is a good thing. But yeah, that's true. Solid. That's good. Yeah. Yeah. Oh, yeah, that's good advice. That is, look, see, this is why I have you on, because, I have this circle right here. Maybe it's not as small as the Junior Marines. Maybe it's expanding in the short 13 years that I've been in. And now you came from the outside and poked it in, and now I have to go, whew. Oh, that's good. That's another way of thinking. That's solid, and that's solid. That's very solid, Alex. I appreciate that, because it could have been a different word. It didn't have to be woke. Right now, in our current culture, it's woke, right? But back in the day, who knows what the word was? That's all. That's good. I like that. Alex, I know that you're a busy man. You got things going on. I know you got to create a film here and a book right after this. Hey, more props to you. Let me know. I'll be the first one to buy it. But I know that you have a lot of wisdom. You have a lot of experience under your belt, and I know that it's a good thing. And some people might think the experience creates havoc, but I think it's great altogether if you use it for the right reasons. And I appreciate you taking the time to come on, Alex. You got a lot of wealth of wisdom, knowledge, and I think you're using it very well. And you're blessed to be in a position where, you get to tell the Marine Corps, side, or at least the right side. What is right? We're not the perfect ones, but we're on the right side, right? And I appreciate that. I appreciate the service that you do. And let the listeners know where they can reach you. I know that I do it every session, and people let me know, and they reach out, and hopefully they reach out to you for the wealth of knowledge and wisdom. Where can they reach you at your handle, so to speak? I like it. Again, Alex, thank you for taking the time. I appreciate it. I know you're busy. You said you were doing what is it, a film? You're starring in a film as Alex? Yeah, of course. Oh, I like it. Can I get a TAD order or something like that to help you out? I'll do all your paperwork for you just to be in the same bubble as you. Yeah, you know more people than I do. I'm just saying. Alex, again, thank you very much. It's been a pleasure, my pleasure for sure. Honored to have you on, and I would love if you want to come back on once you're done with your little, the big film that you're going on that you don't want to disclose to the public yet. Yeah, if you want to come on, yeah, thank you, Alex. Appreciate it. Hey, I'm gonna go after this session and start buying myself in some ice cream. You know what I'm saying? Not today, BCP. Hey, for real, the offers on the table. You know where to reach me at, Alex. I appreciate it. And if whenever you want to come on, just to chop it up again and see where you're at now in life, that'd be awesome too. I appreciate it again. Thank you, Alex. Stay busy. See you later. Ladies and gentlemen, this is Pit Talk, pulling pits and opinions with your host, Gunny G. That was Alex Lim. Again, ladies and gentlemen, if you don't follow, like, or subscribe us, hit us up, man. I'm all about criticism, all about getting better, and you as the listeners, you tell me how I get better, and just reach out to me on Instagram, Facebook, DX, formerly known as Twitter, YouTube, what else is there, LinkedIn, whatever there is, whatever social media, TikTok, whatever it is that there is out nowadays, just hit me up. The last thing I would like to say that I do this passionately. I love service members, helping service members out, and Alex was just on previous week. There's Bennett, freaking Randall, whoever it is. If you want to hear more about them or more about them, just hit me up and I'll connect you with them. It's not a big deal. I will leave you with this. I just learned the other day, even though I knew it. Coaching, teaching, mentor. It's a big deal in leadership. It's a way that we can change the culture. Not saying that the culture is bad. I'm saying that we can always improve, just like Alex said. Coaching. Demand output as a leader. Demand it. Even demand it of yourself as a young Marine. You have to be coachable. You have to put out and do the dang thing, like Alex says. And teach. What is teaching? What do I do as a leader, to change the culture in terms of teaching? Right? Impart knowledge so that, your experience can be used for better. Right? Not for worse, because, some people say, well, experience creates havoc. They think they know it all, this, that, and the other. It's not the case. Experience is a good thing. It's so that you have a platform to speak on, whether good or bad, right? And people I think me and Alex can agree, and we're good. We have a good heart. We're not all bad, looking to be bad. So you got to be teachable. You have to. As a young leader, as a growing leader, as a leader now, you have to teach, impart knowledge to your young, impressionable individuals in the service, and or in just any workforce, right? And lastly, well, anybody that knows a mentor knows they have to be a mentee. All these things are reciprocal. They go round and round and round. And as people, and take the organization out, right? I'm obviously in the Marine Corps, but take the organization out. Being coachable, being teachable, and being a mentee goes full circle. As all my guests say, you have to be able to listen. You have to be able to take constructive criticism. And I'll leave you with that. Be coachable, be teachable, and be a mentee. That's how we get through life in this organization called the Marine Corps, Army, U.S. Navy, Air Force, Coast Guard, whatever it is that you do, McDonald's, burger flipper, whatever it is that you do, you have to be coachable, you have to be teachable, and you have to be a mentee. You have to be a learner of the game. You do. Be a learner of the game. Be teaching, be learning the game. Listen, and then when you're there, do the same thing back. Pay it forward. Don't be that person that doesn't pay it forward. Don't be that one with the secret. It doesn't help nobody. But ladies and gentlemen, it's been a pleasure. Always a pleasure to talk to you and listen to you guys' comments, and I appreciate you guys' time. Thank you for listening. follow, like, subscribe. Even if you don't, hey, I'll see you on the flip side. Laters.